This demonstration will demonstrate the internal principles of spectroscopy and the spectroscope. What we see here are two machines that generate high voltage electricity. And what is in Guy Gore's hand is a tube of helium gas, and this is a tube of hydrogen gas. Of course, the gas is invisible because the atoms are way too small to be seen, just like atmospheric gas. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to send electricity through the gas. In this case, we're sending electricity through the hydrogen, and notice that we get a pink emission from the hydrogen gas. And now here's the question. If there's nothing in that clear tube but hydrogen gas, where does the pink color come from? The pink color must be coming from the electrons that make up the atom called hydrogen, and as they are electrically excited, they glow pink. Hydrogen is the simplest element in the periodic table with one electron. Helium has two electrons, but watch, it glows a completely different color. Helium glows bright yellow. Again, where does the yellow color come from? It can only be coming from the excitation of the electrons that make up the gas. The electricity excites the electrons to an electromagnetic radiation, which equals a vibration, in this case, of very close to the red 700 nanometers and 500 nanometers in the center. But the investigation goes on. Now let's look at the tubes in the dark, and now we will add the diffraction grating mechanism, which is just a thin piece of glass with thousands of ruled parallel etched lines. And then when we put it in front of the hydrogen gas, notice that we see, notice that we see an entire set of colored lines that are being split from the hydrogen gas by this little instrument called the diffraction grating. And each of these is a distinct color. See your note set. And if we do it for the helium, watch this, okay? On the helium side, we get a beautiful yellow line emission. A couple of blues, some reds, but notice when we switch it over to hydrogen, we do not see the yellow line emission. Notice it's not there. Bright yellow line emission, no line emission. That means if I was to turn off the helium gas and ask you, class, does this gas have any helium in it? You would put your spectrograph up to it, and you would discover that you do not see the characteristic line given off by helium gas, namely the yellow electromagnetic line. And therefore, you can definitively say that this gas does not contain helium. And in fact, what we are seeing is what we call the diffraction DNA fingerprint of hydrogen gas. And again, to look at the helium gas, you can see that it is emitting. So these parallel grooves discovered or created by Joseph Fraunhofer to break up light after Newton's discovery allows us, every single element gives off a particular set of lines which are characteristic of that element. And if you have those set of lines in an absorption spectrum from the star, you have that element. And finally, again, the diffraction grating is nothing but a very thin slice of glass with thousands of parallel straight lines etched in it that act like microprisms.